Earth disappeared. When it returned, 500 years later, darkness walked beside it. Part 1. The vanishing Captain Jiho Park stared at the monitor screens in front of him. Numbers scrolled past, showing the usual data from space. Everything looked normal. His ship, the Horizon's Edge, floated near Jupiter like it had done for the past 3 months. The giant planet spun slowly below them, its red spot clearly visible through the observation window. "Captain, you should see this." Hyejin Kim, his navigator, turned in her seat. Her face looked worried. "I'm getting strange readings from Earth's direction." Jiho walked over to her station. He had worked with Hyejin for 5 years. She never looked worried without good reason. "What kind of readings?" "Gravitational waves. Big ones, but they don't match any known pattern." She pointed at her screen. "And they're getting stronger." Daeho Choi, the ship's engineer, looked up from his console. "That's impossible. Nothing near Earth should create waves like that. No asteroids, no comets, nothing." Jiho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Try to contact Earth. Get me someone at Central Command." Hyejin pressed buttons on her communication panel. She waited. Then she pressed more buttons. Her fingers moved faster. "Captain, I'm not getting anything. No response from Earth, no response from the moon base, no response from any Earth satellites." "Check the equipment," Jiho said. His voice stayed calm, but his heart beat faster. "Equipment is fine," Jiho called out. He ran diagnostics on every system. "Everything works perfectly. The problem isn't on our end." Jiho touched his communication device. "This is Captain Park. I need all senior officers in the command room, now." Within minutes, 6 more people crowded into the small command room. They all looked confused. No one knew why the captain called an emergency meeting. "Show them," Jiho said to Hyejin. She put the data on the main screen. Everyone could see the gravitational readings. They could see the communication logs showing no response from Earth. They could see the timestamp showing when everything stopped. "When did this start?" asked Lieutenant Sumin Lee. 17 minutes ago, Hyejin answered. One moment, everything was normal. The next moment, silence. "Run a visual scan," Jiho ordered. "Point our telescopes at Earth, I want to see it." The crew worked quickly. The ship's powerful telescopes turned toward the inner solar system. They focused on the exact location where Earth should be. The images came through. The command room fell silent. Where Earth should have been, there was nothing. Just empty black space, no planet, no moon, nothing at all. "That can't be right," Daeho whispered. "Check again. Check everything again." They checked. They checked 3 times. They checked with every sensor and camera the ship had. The answer stayed the same. Earth was gone, not destroyed. There was no debris, no explosion, no remains. The planet had simply vanished like someone erased it from existence. "Get me Mars Station," Jiho said. His hands gripped the edge of the console. "Get me anyone, everyone." The next few hours passed in chaos. Mars Station responded. So did the colonies on Europa and Titan. The mining stations in the asteroid belt all checked in. But Earth, nothing. 8 billion people lived on Earth. Now they were all gone. Commander Minho Kang's face appeared on the screen. He led Mars Station, the largest human settlement after Earth. His eyes looked red and tired. "Captain Park," Minho said. "Confirm your readings. Earth is gone." "Confirmed, Commander. We've checked everything multiple times. Earth vanished approximately 4 hours ago." Minho rubbed his face with both hands. "We're getting the same readings here. We've sent 3 scout ships to Earth's last known position. They should arrive in 36 hours. He paused. "How many people do we have left?" Jiho understood what he meant. How many humans survived? "About 2 million across all colonies and stations, sir. Maybe less." "Out of 10 billion. Minho's voice sounded hollow. "Captain, I'm declaring a state of emergency. All human ships and stations need to stay in constant communication. We can't lose anyone else." Over the next few days, the scout ships reached Earth's position. They found exactly what the sensors showed. Nothing. The space where Earth once existed was completely empty. Scientists couldn't explain it. The planet hadn't moved to another orbit, it hadn't exploded. It simply stopped existing. 3 weeks later, something new happened. Ships arrived from other parts of the galaxy. Not human ships, alien ships. The Velthara Consortium sent a delegation. They were a group of 14 different alien species who worked together peacefully. Their ambassador, a tall being named Rhinoth, met with Commander Minho through video communication. "We detected the gravitational event," Rhinoth said through a translator. His species looked like tall, thin humans with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. "We came to offer help and information." "Information?" Minho leaned forward. "You know what happened to Earth?" "Not exactly." Rhinoth moved his upper arms in what might have been a gesture of sympathy. "But this has happened before. 7 other planets have vanished the same way throughout galactic history. Different species, different star systems, different times. But always the same pattern. Sudden gravitational waves, then nothing." "Did those planets ever come back?" Jiho asked. He had been invited to join the meeting with other ship captains. Rhinoth's silence answered the question before his words did. "No, Captain. None of them returned. None of them were ever found. The species who lost their homeworlds either died out or survived in small numbers, scattered and broken." The meeting continued for hours. The Velthara offered help. They would share resources and technology. They would let human colonies join their trade networks. But everyone knew the truth. Humanity had lost its home. They were orphans now, refugees in space. Months passed, then years. The scattered human colonies worked together to survive. Commander Minho became the unofficial leader of all remaining humans. They called themselves the Terran Remnant Alliance. It sounded better than the survivors or the leftovers. Life continued because it had to. Children were born who would never see Earth. Old people died, still hoping their planet would return. Scientists studied the disappearance but found no answers. The empty space where Earth had been stayed empty. 50 years after the vanishing, a young scientist named Sena Lee published a paper. She proposed that Earth hadn't been destroyed. Instead, it had been taken somewhere else. Another dimension, maybe, or another part of space-time. Her theory couldn't be proven, but it gave people hope. Maybe Earth still existed somewhere. Maybe the people there still lived. 100 years passed. Then 200. The Terran Remnant Alliance grew stronger. They built new settlements. They had more children. They made treaties with alien civilizations. But they never forgot Earth. Every human child learned about the blue planet with green continents and white clouds. They learned about the 8 billion people who vanished in an instant. The galaxy moved on. To other species, humans became known as the orphaned species. Some aliens felt sorry for them. Others respected their strength for surviving such a loss. A few whispered that maybe the humans deserved what happened, though no one knew why anyone would think that. 500 years after Earth disappeared, most humans had never seen their homeworld. They knew it only from old pictures and videos. Earth became almost mythical, like a story from ancient times. Some young people even doubted it ever really existed, but the older generation remembered, and they kept the memory alive. They told their children and grandchildren about Earth, about its blue oceans and green forests, about cities full of people and cultures spanning thousands of years, about a world that was taken from them without warning or explanation. No one expected it to return. That would be impossible. Dead people didn't come back to life. Destroyed planets didn't rebuild themselves. Vanished worlds stayed vanished, but the universe had other plans. And 5 centuries after Earth disappeared into nothing, something impossible was about to happen. Earth disappeared. When it returned 500 years later, darkness walked beside it. Part 2, The Impossible Return, Captain. Junho Han was bored. Mining asteroids was important work, but it wasn't exciting. His small ship drifted through the asteroid belt, scanning rocks for valuable metals. He had done this job for 12 years. Every day felt the same as the last. "Another iron asteroid," said his co-pilot, looking at the scanner. "Not worth the fuel to land on it." Junho nodded and marked the asteroid on his map. Then he pointed his ship toward the next rock on his list. But before he could start moving, every alarm on his ship started screaming at once. What's happening? He checked his instruments. The readings made no sense. Captain, I'm detecting massive gravitational waves. His co-pilot's hands flew across the control panel. They're coming from the old solar coordinates. Junho's blood went cold. Everyone knew what the old solar coordinates meant. The place where Earth used to be. The empty spot in space that had stayed empty for 500 years. Get me a visual, Junho ordered. Now. The main screen showed the familiar emptiness of deep space. Then something changed. The space itself seemed to bend and twist. Colors that had no names rippled through the darkness. Reality looked like it was tearing apart. And then, in the space of a single heartbeat, Earth appeared. Junho stared at the screen. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't think. The planet looked exactly like it did in the old pictures. Blue oceans, green and brown continents, white clouds, everything perfect and whole. It's Earth, his co-pilot whispered. It came back. Earth came back. Junho grabbed his communication device. This is Captain Han. I need emergency communication with Fleet Command. I need it now. Tell them Earth has returned. The next 6 hours passed in a blur. Every ship in the solar system turned toward Earth. Every sensor pointed at it. Every camera took pictures. Scientists couldn't believe what they were seeing. The planet shouldn't exist, but there it was. Admiral Yuna Shin commanded the Terran Remnant Alliance fleet. She was a strong woman who had fought in 3 wars against space pirates. Nothing scared her. But as she looked at Earth on her screen, her hands shook. Confirm all readings, she ordered her crew. I want to know everything. Is it really Earth? Are there people alive down there? Is it safe? Her science officer worked quickly. Confirmed, Admiral. Continental formations match Earth exactly. Atmosphere is Earth normal. Gravitational pull matches old records. It's definitely Earth. But something is wrong, another officer added. He pointed at his screen. There's an energy field around the planet. It's like nothing in our databases. Dark energy, maybe. It's blocking most of our scans. Yuna frowned. Can we scan through it? Not really. We can see the surface, but we can't get detailed readings. Can't see what's in the cities. Can't count how many people are alive. Can't even tell if the air is safe to breathe. News of Earth's return spread across the galaxy in hours. The Velthara Consortium sent their fastest ships. Other alien civilizations sent observers. Everyone wanted to see the planet that came back from nowhere. Ambassador Renath contacted Admiral Yuna directly. He looked older now, but his species aged slowly. He had been alive when Earth first disappeared. This is unprecedented, Renath said. His forearms moved in agitation. In all of galactic history, no vanished planet has ever returned. What came back might not be the Earth you remember. What do you mean? Yuna asked. We don't know where these planets go. We don't know what happens to them. What if Earth was changed? What if the people there were changed? You must be careful, Admiral. Yuna understood his concern, but she also knew that 8 billion humans might be alive on that planet. She couldn't ignore them. We'll be careful, but we have to make contact. 2 days after Earth's return, something finally broke through the dark energy field. A transmission. Old Earth language. Old Earth communication codes. This is Dr. Tajin's song of Earth Defense Command. The voice sounded strange, like it was coming from very far away. Humanity requests permission to rejoin galactic civilization. We bring gifts and warnings, the message repeated 3 times. Then it stopped. But at the end, there was a sound. Like static, but also like whispers. Like voices speaking words that couldn't quite be heard. Admiral Yuna called an emergency meeting with all the colony leaders. They argued for hours. Some wanted to welcome Earth back immediately. Others wanted to keep their distance. A few even suggested destroying the planet before whatever changed it could spread. We need to send people down there, Yuna finally decided. A small team. Scientists, soldiers, diplomats. They'll make contact and report back. I volunteered to lead the team, Junho said. He had traveled from the asteroid belt to join the meeting. I was the one who first saw Earth return. Let me be the one to visit it, Yuna studied him. You understand the risk? We don't know what's down there. I understand. But those are our people. We can't abandon them. The team assembled quickly. Huno would lead. Mirai Choi, a xenobiologist who studied alien life, would analyze any biological threats. Dongyun Park, a weapons specialist, would provide security. 3 others joined them. a communications expert, a medical doctor, and a cultural anthropologist. Their shuttle launched from the fleet's flagship. As they approached Earth, the dark energy field became visible. It looked like black smoke, but it moved with intelligence. It seemed to watch them. "I don't like this," Dong-Yun said. His hand rested on his weapon. "That field is alive somehow." "Everything reads normal," Mirai said, checking her instruments. "No toxins, no radiation." But Dong-Yun is right. The energy patterns suggest consciousness. The shuttle entered the field. For a moment, everything went black. Then they were through, descending toward Earth's surface. What they saw below shocked them into silence. Seoul, the old capital of Korea, had been transformed. The ancient city was still there, but now strange structures rose between the old buildings. Towers made of black crystal that seemed to absorb light. Streets that glowed with soft, dark energy. Technology that shouldn't exist. Are those people? Mirai pointed at figures moving through the streets. They were human-shaped, but something seemed off about them. The way they moved. The way shadows clung to them. The shuttle landed in a cleared area. The team put on their protective suits and checked their weapons. The shuttle door opened. A group of people waited for them. They looked human. They wore normal clothes, but their eyes reflected light strangely, like cat eyes in darkness, and the shadows around them moved wrong, as if alive. One man stepped forward. He smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "Welcome home," he said. "We've been waiting 500 years to see our brothers and sisters again." "I'm Captain Junho Han of the Terran Remnant Alliance," Junho said. His voice stayed steady. "We received your message, Dr. Taejin-song." "That's me," the man gestured to himself. "I know we look different. We are different. Earth has been gone a long time, and where we went changed us. But we're still human, still your family." "Where did Earth go?" Mirai asked. Taejin's smile faded. "To hell. We went to hell. And we survived it. But hell doesn't let you go unchanged. Come. We have much to tell you. Stories you won't want to believe but must hear." He turned and walked toward the nearest building. The shadows around him moved like loyal dogs. Junho looked at his team. They all looked scared. He was scared too. But they had come here for answers. "Stay alert," he told his team. "Record everything." They followed Taejin into the transformed city. Above them, the dark energy field pulsed like a living thing. Behind them, their shuttle sat alone in the landing area. And all around them, the changed humans of Earth watched with eyes that reflected light in ways human eyes never should. The impossible had happened. Earth had returned. But the planet that came back was not the planet that had left. Earth disappeared when it returned 500 years later. Darkness walked beside it. Part 3, The Changed Earth. The room they entered was large and dark. Lights existed, but they seemed dimmed, as if the darkness itself was eating the brightness. Junho and his team sat at a long table. Taejin sat across from them. Other Earth humans stood along the walls, silent and watchful. 500 years, Taejin began. His voice was quiet, but everyone heard him clearly. "For you, that's how long Earth was gone. For us, it felt like 5,000 years. Time works differently in the Shroud." "The Shroud?" Mirai leaned forward. "What is that?" "The dimension where we were taken. Imagine a place where reality doesn't follow rules, where darkness is alive and hungry, where creatures exist that should not exist." Taejin's eyes looked distant, remembering. One moment, Earth was normal. The next, we were somewhere else. 8 billion people suddenly trapped in hell. Dong-Yun kept his hand near his weapon. What kind of creatures? Things without names. Things without forms. They could be shadows one moment, solid the next. They could reach into your mind and make you see your worst fears. They hunted us for sport. Taejin stood and walked to the window. "In the first year, we lost 2 billion people. Just gone, taken by the darkness, eaten by things we couldn't see or fight." Junho felt sick. "How did you survive?" "We learned. We adapted. Humans are good at that." Taejin turned back to them. "We built shelters that the creatures couldn't enter. We developed weapons that could hurt them. We created safe zones using technology and something else. Something the Shroud taught us." "What do you mean?" Mirai asked. Taejin held up his hand. The shadows in the room moved toward him like pets coming to their master. They wrapped around his arm, solid and real. "The Shroud is alive in a way. It's made of conscious darkness. After fighting it for decades, we realized something. We could negotiate with it." The team stared at the shadows on his arm. It was impossible, but they were seeing it happen. The dominant intelligence in the shroud is called the Undying Silence. It's not evil or good. It just exists, and it was curious about us. After we proved we could survive, could fight back, could resist, it offered us a deal. What kind of deal? Junho asked, though he already feared the answer. Protection in exchange for service. We would become its ambassadors to the physical universe. In return, it would stop hunting us. More than that, it would bond with us. Give us power. Teijin released the shadows. They drifted back to the corners of the room. Every human on Earth now carries a fragment of the shroud inside them. We can control darkness. We can bend space a little. We can sense thoughts if we try. But we're not human anymore. Not completely. You made a deal with a monster, Donghyun said. His voice was hard. We made a deal with what we had to, Taejin replied. Would you rather we all died? Should we have let 8 billion people be slaughtered rather than accept help from something we didn't understand? A woman stepped forward from the wall. She was young, maybe 25 years old, but her eyes looked ancient. My name is Minseo Park. I was a soldier before Earth vanished. I was 19 years old. I spent what felt like 100 years fighting in the shroud. I watched my entire unit die. My friends, my family, everyone I loved. She held out her hands. Darkness flowed from her palms like water. It formed shapes in the air, weapons, shields, tools. This power saved my life. This power saved our species. Yes, it changed us, but change was better than extinction. Mirai stood up and walked closer to Minseo. May I scan you? Minseo nodded. Mirai pulled out a medical scanner and ran it over Minseo's body. The results made her gasp. Your DNA is still human, Mirai said slowly, but there's something else woven through it. Some kind of energy pattern I've never seen. It's integrated into every cell of your body. The shroud fragments, Minseo said. They're not parasites. They're symbiotes. They need us as much as we need them. Cut off from the shroud dimension, they're dying. Only by bonding with human hosts can they survive. Junho stood up. We need to report this to Admiral Yuna. She needs to know everything. Of course, Taijin said. But there's more you need to understand. Earth didn't escape the shroud. We were released. Sent back as a warning. A warning? Yunyo felt cold. About what? The shroud dimensions are collapsing. All of them. The creatures that live there are fleeing into normal space. And Earth wasn't the only planet taken, remember? 7 others vanished throughout history. They're coming back too, Mirai whispered. 3 have already returned. Taijin confirmed. Each one changed like us. Each one bonded with different aspects of their dark dimensions. Each one trying to warn the galaxy about what's coming. Dongyun finally took his hand off his weapon. An invasion? The biggest one in galactic history. Creatures from dying dimensions pouring into ours. And your conventional weapons won't work against them. Energy weapons pass through them. Kinetic rounds just make holes that close instantly. You need darkness to fight darkness. The room fell silent. Junyo looked at his team. They all understood what Taijin was saying. Humanity had been given power, but it came with a terrible price. They had to become monsters to fight monsters. The Velthura Consortium wants to destroy Earth, Junho said quietly. They're afraid of what you've become. We know, Minseo said. We can sense their fear even from orbit. But we're not the enemy. We're the solution. Over the next 3 days, Junho's team explored Earth. They saw the transformed cities. They met thousands of changed humans. Every single person on Earth now had these powers. Children born after the bonding carried the shroud fragments from birth, but they also saw humanity. People still laughed and cried. They still loved and hoped. They still dreamed. The darkness hadn't destroyed them. It had only changed the tools they used to survive. On the 4th day, the proof of Taijin's warning came. A shroud breach opened near the Velthura homeworld. It was small, just a crack in reality. But things came through. Dark creatures that had no form, that were made of nightmare and shadow. The Velthura fleet attacked with everything they had. Energy weapons, missiles, kinetic cannons. Nothing worked. The creatures couldn't be hurt by conventional weapons. They swept through the Velthura ships like they were made of paper. Then Earth's military arrived. Minseo led a battalion of changed humans in small combat ships. They dove into the battle, and suddenly the creatures were fighting something that could hurt them. Minseo's ship opened, and she jumped into space wearing only a thin suit. Darkness flowed from her body, forming a protective sphere around her. She grabbed one of the shroud creatures with her bare hands. Her power wrestled with its power. For a long moment they struggled. Then Minseo pulled and the creature came apart, dissolving into nothing. All around her, other changed humans did the same. They fought the creatures hand to hand, using darkness against darkness. It was brutal and terrible to watch, but it worked. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the shroud creatures were destroyed, but the cost was high. Minseo's ship returned to the fleet. When she took off her helmet, Junho saw that her eyes had changed. They were completely black now, with no white at all. Shadows moved under her skin like living things. "It gets worse each time we use the power," she told him quietly. "Every battle pushes us further from humanity. But what choice do we have?" Admiral Yuna called an emergency meeting. Every colony leader attended through video communication. So did representatives from the Velthara Consortium and dozens of other alien civilizations. They had all watched the battle. They had all seen what Earth's changed humans could do. "We face a choice," Yuna said. Her voice was steady but tired. "Accept Earth and the other changed worlds as allies, or stand alone against an invasion we cannot win." The debate lasted for hours. Some argued that the changed humans were too dangerous. Others said they had no choice. A few suggested finding another way to fight the shroud creatures. Finally, Junho asked to speak. As the first person to make contact with Earth, his words carried weight. Earth disappeared. When it returned 500 years later, darkness walked beside it. Part 4. Darkness rising. Junho stood before the Galactic Assembly. Hundreds of species watched him through screens and holographic projections. He could feel the weight of their judgment. Everything he said now would determine humanity's future. "I've walked on Earth," he began. "I've met the changed humans. I've seen what they've become. And yes, it's frightening. They have power that shouldn't exist. They look at us with eyes that don't look entirely human anymore." He paused and looked directly at the camera. "But I've also seen them fight. I watched Minseo Park and her battalion save the Velthara homeworld. They didn't have to do that. They could have let those creatures destroy your planets while Earth stayed safe behind its dark energy field. But they didn't. They fought because it was right." Junho's voice grew stronger. "Humanity has always survived by adapting. When we left Earth's oceans, we grew legs. When we left the ground, we built wings. When we left Earth itself, we built ships. Now we face creatures from dimensions beyond our understanding. So we adapted again. We became something new." "They became monsters," someone shouted from the assembly. "They became survivors," Junho shot back. "And they didn't become the darkness. They mastered it. There's a difference. The shroud tried to break them and failed. That's what humanity does. We don't break. We bend, we change, we adapt, but we don't break." The vote was called. It was close, but Earth was accepted back into galactic civilization. The changed humans would be allowed to help fight the coming invasion. But trust was thin and fear was thick. Admiral Yuna took command of the unified forces. She was a brilliant military leader, and even the aliens respected her. Dr. Tejin coordinated the changed humans from all 7 returned worlds. Each planet had mastered different abilities from their time in dark dimensions. Earth humans controlled shadows and could sense thoughts. Humans from a planet called Novo Lisboa could walk through walls and teleport short distances. Another group could see the future a few seconds ahead. Each ability was strange and unsettling, but each was useful. Junho was given command of the first integrated ship. The Twilight Covenant had a mixed crew, both regular humans from the remnant colonies and changed humans from Earth. The 2 groups didn't trust each other at first. "They stare at us like we're weapons," Minseo said one day. She was Junho's second in command. "Not people, just tools to be used. Give them time," Junho replied. "They'll see you're still human where it matters." His navigator was a changed human named Hieri Nam. Her shroud fragment gave her limited precognition. She could see a few seconds into the future, which made her an incredible pilot. "Jump point in 3 minutes," she announced. Her black eyes stared at something only she could see. "The path is clear. No threats detected." They were heading to the outer reaches where scouts had detected shroud activity. The creatures from dying dimensions were gathering there, trying to establish a foothold in normal space. Training exercises had shown that regular humans and changed humans could work together, but it wasn't easy. The regular crew members were nervous around the changed ones. The changed humans felt isolated and judged. It took weeks before they started acting like a real team. One night in the ship's common area, a regular crew member named Kiha sat next to Minseo. Can I ask you something? Minseo looked at her with those unsettling black eyes. Yes. Does it hurt? The power? Sometimes. Minseo held up her hand and shadows danced on her palm. It's like having another sense that's always on. I can feel darkness now the way you feel heat or cold. And the more I use it, the more it changes me. My eyes went black after that battle at the Velthara homeworld. I don't know what will change next. Are you afraid? Every day. But I was more afraid of dying. Of letting my species die. This power saved us. I can live with the changes if it means humanity survives. Kiha reached out slowly and touched the shadows on Minseo's hand. They felt cold but not painful. Thank you. For fighting for us. We're all human, Minseo said softly. Changed or not, we're all human. The Twilight Covenant reached the outer reaches 3 weeks later. What they found was worse than they expected. A massive shroud breach had opened in space. It looked like a wound in reality, bleeding darkness into the universe. Creatures poured through, thousands of them. They were bigger than the ones that had attacked the Velthara homeworld. Some were huge, as large as ships. Others were small but moved in swarms. All of them were hungry. Battle stations, Junho ordered. All hands prepare for combat. The fleet engaged. Human ships, Velthara ships, and vessels from a dozen other species opened fire. Weapons lit up the darkness. But just like before, the conventional weapons barely slowed the creatures down. Changed human units. You're clear to deploy. Admiral Yuna's voice came through the communication system. The changed humans launched from their ships in small combat pods. Minseo's pod was first out. She wore a combat suit that had been specially designed for her abilities. When she activated her powers, darkness flowed out of her like wings. All units engage at will, she commanded. The battle that followed was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Changed humans flew through space using darkness as propulsion. They grabbed creatures with hands wrapped in shadow. They tore reality open with their minds and pulled the creatures apart from the inside. Bora Shin, one of Minseo's squad mates, could open small rifts in space. She created tiers that sucked creatures into nothing. Another soldier named Kyungmin Lee could solidify shadows into shields that protected regular ships from creature attacks. But the creatures adapted too. They learned to target the changed humans specifically. A massive creature, bigger than any they'd seen before, emerged from the breach. It looked vaguely like a spider, but had too many legs and too many eyes. It grabbed 2 changed humans and crushed them before anyone could react. Fall back, Minseo ordered. Everyone pull back to defensive positions. The creature advanced on the main fleet. Weapons hit it but passed through harmlessly. It was too big, too powerful. Minseo knew what she had to do. I'm going in, she told Junho. That's suicide, he replied. Wait for backup, there's no time. That thing will destroy the entire fleet. She disconnected from the communication system before anyone could stop her. Her pod accelerated toward the massive creature. She could feel the shroud fragment inside her responding to the nearness of so much darkness. It wanted to fight. It wanted to consume. Minseo pushed her powers harder than she ever had before. Darkness exploded from her body in waves. She crashed into the creature like a missile made of shadow. For a moment, she and the creature were locked together, power against power. The creature screamed. It was a sound that had no place in reality. But Minseo pushed harder. She could feel herself changing, could feel the shroud fragment taking more control. Her body wasn't entirely solid anymore. She was becoming more shadow than flesh, but she didn't stop. She reached deep into the creature's core and pulled. Reality twisted around them both. Then with a flash of black light, the creature dissolved into nothing. Minseo's pod drifted in space. Juno sent a recovery team immediately. When they brought her back to the ship, she was still alive but barely conscious. The medical team worked on her for hours. When she finally woke up, Junho was there. He looked at her with worry. Did we win? She asked. Yes. The creatures retreated back through the breach. We sealed it. Good. She tried to sit up but couldn't. Her body felt wrong. She looked down and gasped. Her arms were transparent in places. She could see through her own flesh to the bones beneath, and those bones were wrapped in darkness. The doctor says you pushed too far, Junho said quietly. The shroud fragment is taking over. They don't know if they can reverse it. Minseo looked at her hands. They flickered between solid and shadow. I'm becoming more darkness than human. We'll find a way to help you. No, she said firmly. This is the price. I knew it when I took this power. Every time we use it, we lose a little more of ourselves. But the alternative is letting those creatures destroy everything. She looked at Junho with eyes that were now completely black, no trace of white or color remaining. Promise me something. When I'm too far gone, when there's nothing human left, you'll stop me. Minseo, promise me. I won't become one of those things. I'd rather die as a human than live as a monster. Junho's hands clenched into fists, but finally he nodded. I promise. Earth disappeared. When it returned 500 years later, darkness walked beside it. Part 5. Walking in darkness, news of Minseo's condition spread quickly. She wasn't the only one. Dozens of changed humans who had fought in the big battle were now transforming further. Their bodies flickered between solid and shadow. Some could no longer eat normal food. Others couldn't sleep without drifting into the shroud dimension in their dreams. Dr. Tejin called an emergency meeting with all the changed human leaders. We knew this would happen eventually, he said. The more we use our powers, the more we become like the shroud itself. We're running out of time. Time for what? Asked a representative from Novo Lisboa. Intelligence suggests the shroud entities are gathering. All of them. They're planning one final massive assault. If they break through in enough places at once, the barrier between dimensions will shatter permanently. Our universe will flood with darkness. Admiral Yuna studied the strategic maps. Red markers showed where shroud breaches had been detected. There were hundreds. Where will they strike? Here. Tejin pointed to a specific location on the map. The exact coordinates where Earth originally vanished. It's the weakest point in dimensional space. If they break through there with enough force, it's over. Junho looked at the location. That's deep in uncharted space. It'll take every ship we have to reach it in time. Then we send every ship we have, Yuna said simply. This is it. The final battle. We win here or we lose everything. The call went out across the galaxy. Every species that could fight sent their ships. The Terran Remnant Alliance mobilized their entire fleet. The Velthara Consortium came with their most powerful vessels. Dozens of other civilizations joined them. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. But everyone knew the truth. Regular weapons wouldn't win this fight. The changed humans would have to do the real work. And many of them wouldn't survive it. Minseo recovered enough to return to duty. Her body was more stable, but she could no longer fully return to solid form. Parts of her remained transparent, like she existed in two places at once. She didn't complain. She just did her job. The fleet traveled for 2 weeks to reach the target location. During that time, the changed humans trained constantly. They practiced working together, combining their different abilities. Earth shadow controllers worked with Novo Lisboa's teleporters. The precognitive fighters learned to guide the others through complex battles. Junho watched them train and felt proud. These people had been through hell, literally, and they were still fighting. Still trying to save a galaxy that feared them. On the last day before the battle, he found Minseo on the observation deck. She stood looking at the stars, her partially transparent body glowing faintly with inner darkness. How are you feeling? He asked. Scared, she admitted. I can feel something coming. Something huge. The shroud fragment inside me is terrified, and it takes a lot to scare something from that dimension. Dr. Tejin told me about the plan. About what you changed humans will have to do. Minseo nodded slowly. We'll have to seal the breach permanently. The only way to do that is from both sides. We have to become bridges between dimensions, living anchors holding the barrier closed. That means we'll never be fully in either world again. We'll exist in both places at once, forever standing guard. Never able to rest. Never able to come home. Junho felt his throat tighten. How many volunteers do you have? All of us, Minseo said quietly. Every single changed human has volunteered. We're already half in the darkness anyway. This way our transformation means something. We become protectors instead of victims. That's not fair. You've already sacrificed so much. Life isn't fair, Captain. But it's what we have. And I'd rather spend eternity guarding the universe than let those creatures destroy everything. She turned to look at him with her black eyes. Besides, we'll be together. All of us changed humans standing watch side by side. We won't be alone. The fleet arrived at the target coordinates the next morning. For several hours, nothing happened. Ships took up defensive positions. Weapons were armed. Everyone waited. Then the sky broke. Breaches opened everywhere at once. Hundreds of them. Thousands. The creatures poured through like a flood of living darkness. They were bigger than before, more numerous, more aggressive. This was everything the dying dimensions had left. Every creature, every nightmare, every fragment of conscious darkness that wanted to survive. All ships engage. Admiral Yuna's voice rang through the communication channels. Conventional forces, create a perimeter! Changed humans, you're clear to deploy. The battle began. It was chaos on a scale no one had imagined. Ships fired weapons that lit up space like artificial stars. Creatures died by the thousands, but thousands more kept coming. The changed humans launched into the void. There were 10,000 of them. Every changed human from all 7 returned worlds. They spread out in a coordinated formation, each one taking position at a different breach point. Minseo led the Earth contingent. All units activate on my mark. Remember your training. We hold nothing back. Everything we have, everything we are, we give it now. Around her, changed humans blazed with dark power. They were magnificent and terrible to see. No longer fully human, but not monsters either. They were something new, something that had never existed before. For Earth, Minseo said. For humanity. For everyone who can't fight, mark! 10,000 changed humans pushed their powers to the absolute limit. They reached into the breaches with hands made of shadow and thought. They grabbed the barriers between dimensions and pulled them closed with pure will. The creatures fought back. They attacked the changed humans directly, trying to break their concentration. Regular fleet ships moved in to protect them, firing constantly to keep the creatures away. Aliens and humans who had feared the changed ones now fought to defend them. Junho watched from the Twilight Covenant as Minseo's body began to fade. She was becoming more transparent, more shadow than flesh. Around her, other changed humans were doing the same. They were merging with the darkness, becoming part of the dimensional barriers themselves. It's working, Dr. Tajin's voice came through the communication system. The breaches are stabilizing. Keep it up. But the cost was visible. The changed humans were no longer individuals. They were becoming pillars of darkness, permanent fixtures holding reality together. They existed in both dimensions at once. Their consciousness spread across 2 universes. Minseo could feel herself changing. It didn't hurt, but it was strange. She could see the battle around her, but she could also see the shroud dimension. She existed in both places. She was a bridge, she could still think, still remember who she was, but she knew this was permanent. She would never return to normal, never walk on a planet's surface again, never eat or sleep or laugh with friends. She would stand here in this eternal twilight between worlds, forever holding the darkness back. I'm sorry, she thought, hoping somehow Junho could hear her, but this is how it has to be. The battle raged for 12 more hours. Slowly, gradually, the breaches began to seal. The flow of creatures slowed to a trickle, then stopped. The last few creatures were destroyed by the combined fleet. When it finally ended, space was quiet. The breaches were closed. But where 10,000 changed humans had been, now stood 10,000 pillars of living darkness. They glowed faintly, pulsing with consciousness. The Wardens of the Divide. Admiral Yuna ordered a moment of silence for the fallen. But Junho knew they weren't fallen. They were still there, still aware, still standing guard. He could see Minseo's pillar glowing slightly brighter than the others. She was still fighting, still protecting, even now. Dr. Tajin established a communication protocol. Using special equipment, he could speak with the Wardens. Their voices were faint and strange, but understandable. We're okay, Minseo's voice came through. It's not so bad. We can see everything from here. We can feel the barriers holding strong. And we're together, all of us. We share one consciousness now while keeping our individual thoughts. We're not alone. We'll remember you, Junho promised. All of you. The galaxy will remember what you did. Just make sure it was worth it, Minseo replied. Live good lives. Be kind to each other. Make the universe we saved better than it was. That's all we ask. The fleet returned home slowly. News of the victory spread across the galaxy. The changed humans were no longer feared. They were honored, respected. Monuments were built. Their names were recorded in every language and culture. Earth took its place among the galactic civilizations not as the orphaned species, but as the undaunted. They had walked through hell and come back stronger. They had saved the universe at the cost of their own humanity. 3 months later, Junho stood on Earth's surface. The dark energy field still surrounded the planet, but now it was understood. It wasn't a prison or a threat. It was a badge of honor, a reminder of what humanity had endured. Yeri Nam stood beside him. She was one of the few changed humans who hadn't volunteered for the Wardens. Someone needed to stay behind to help integrate Earth back into normal society. Her eyes were still black, her powers still active, but she was learning to live with the changes. "Do you think we did the right thing?" she asked.